What's going on? What's going on, Tribe Network? Woo! What's going on? This is your boy, Richard Maxwell. Let's say a quick prayer. Dear God, thank you for today. Thank you for all the opportunities, trials and tribulations. Thank you for just giving us the strength and courage to be bold. I pray for consistency. I pray for just being able to make progress each and every day. I pray for those that are in need of prayer. I pray for wickedness and darkness to be turned to your light, and I just pray that I'm able to diminish myself so that you can be more greatly seen. Please use me as one of your vessels. Guide my words and my actions throughout the stream. And afterwards, thank you for my family. Thank you for this life. Thank you for such a wonderful wife. And thank you for all that you have done and all that you're going to do. And just continue to ask that you just continue to mold me and make me or help me become who you need me to be. In your holy name, by your son Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. So what is going on, guys? It is a crazy time to be alive in America. That is the long and short of it. Before we go all that way, I'm doing really good. I've been in a pretty good run here lately. Just been working on some school started this semester. This is my last real semester. Then I just have a capstone project, and I'll be done with my associates in software development. In the process of transferring jobs to something a little bit closer to where I live, which is a big deal because then I'll have more time to work and more time to just kind of work on like Tribe Vibe. So that's all good. I had it was a good week. I saw my cousins this past weekend for my cousin's 21st birthday, which was a good time. Yeah, we're getting some content. We're going to start posting again, start tomorrow. We'll have another big content push. Hopefully we can keep that just constant so that we always have something dropping every day. The goal would be to have 3 videos drop per day. We'll see how long we'll be able to sustain that, and hopefully we can sustain it indefinitely moving forward. But, we'll see how that goes. We're still working on the website updates, still working on building the database. We moved the database into a different version of SQL, which I think will have long-term benefit. Even if it, for the short term, kind of stumbles us up, it'll be all right. A little bit of a learning curve. But, again, I think the long-term outcomes on that will be worth it. So, yeah. We're cooking and grooving over here. It's hard not to have on your mind, though, the craziness that's going on. And it's not even just politics. Like, at this point, like, we're past, like, everything being about politics. We're officially into, like, morals and, our nation's philosophy and what we stand for and the motivations we have for doing different things are right on the forefront. Like, that's what we're really talking about. That's what's really going on. Once you have people who are getting paid by the government going door to door and, taking innocents' lives and locking people up and just overall causing chaos and havoc on the streets. We're just getting to the point where, we're just at the point where we have to push back. We have to lead ourselves in a different direction. We can't go down this road. We just have to understand that this road doesn't have anything good at the end of it, and it's hard really to think about anything other than that. I'm a pretty optimistic dude. I like to remain hopeful and whatnot, but man, it's tough when the news is just someone's just living their life and they're just living their normal everyday life and they are just shot and killed for after they drop their child off at school or whatnot or whatever it may have been. But it's a crazy time. So I do want to get into some of that. I do have thoughts and feelings and things to discuss there. And then we're gonna get the content pipeline going. We'll probably be going for about an hour, maybe 2 hours tonight. Anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours. But let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's get some reaction going. Let's go check out some what's been going on. There's some like Hassan Piker stuff we could watch. I was watching some Majority Report earlier. Here, let me check this out real quick. But we were talking about like the line, and like when I first brought up the line, it was like if you defend pedophilia, you're on one side. If you're trying to say like the files don't need to come out, or anyone that's in the files that is like an offender, if you're trying to run any sort of defense or any sort of bootlicking on that side, you're on one side, and then the people who are against pedophilia are on the other. And then, depending, I think it's pretty obvious what side of history you want to be on in that circumstance. Like, you don't want to be with the pedophiles. I don't know why you'd ever want to be with pedophiles, but like I feel like that line's like kind of expanding. Like that, the line of like, are you defending? Are you pro pedophilia? Or are you anti pedophilia? Are you pro Gaza genocide? Or are you anti genocide? And then are you pro like Gustapos running the streets and like having free reign to like just invoke violence and to just be the biggest dickhead they could possibly be running around on the streets? Or are you for like civilized society for all? And I'm not even like trying to make that political. Like that shouldn't, like in my opinion, that shouldn't even be a political statement. That should just be like a moral groundwork. Like that should just be like everyday. Yeah, and I feel like it is. Like, you know what I mean? Because like, you see some people on the internet make the point like when we learned about this stuff in history books in like middle school or before that or after that, high school, whatever it may be, we all sat around and we were all like, yeah, who would do that? It's crazy that like that happened. That couldn't happen today. No one would ever go for that. We would stop it. Like, I think in our cores we really do have those feelings. I really do think that's how we feel. But like we have to like make that known to make it louder, because like and like I don't know, people getting brainwashed. I mean, what's going on? Like how are you defending like deadly force being used on somebody who like was driving down the road and who was giving like friendly demeanor, like giving friendly vibes as like you were talking to them? Like there's like no malice in that person's heart or that energy or any sign of anything going on for Miss Renee Good. And like I mean, I think it's even like universally ironic that her name has Good in it. Like you really shot and killed Miss Good while she was just like turning around in the street. Like it's a crazy circumstance. It's a crazy timeline that we're living in. But like, we have to call a spade a spade. This is like absolutely ridiculous. So, like, one thing over here at Tribe Live that we've been talking about a lot is, like, how can we get involved? Like, what more can we do? We're trying to figure out, like, what protests are going on in, like, the Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton area and, like, the bigger cities around here. But then we're also, like, talking about, like, can we organize something in the small town that we live in? What about, like, the suburbs? How can we, like, help? And, like, I don't know. I really think, like, we're getting to the point where we need, like, nationwide or at least, like, regional organization. Like obviously I think that's pretty like the one big thing that's lacking for like our resistance against like this fascist regime is like an organized front. And I think one idea that we can get organized around is like when you read about like the Underground Railroad back in the day, one of the things like runaway like slaves and people who were trying to be free, like they had like signs in like the windows or like the way they lit lanterns or something to know like that they were like in a friendly house or whatnot. I think we have to bring something like that back. Like we need to have like a sign where like it's like an ICE isn't welcomed, or I mean it can be a little bit more like under the radar than that. But we need something designed so when ICE raids are happening in neighborhoods, specifically in neighborhoods, like if you can make it into this house, just like come into this house and like ICE will not be welcome. Like the people inside this house know how to get ICE off their property. People inside this house know what to say, how to fight, what a proper warrant looks like. Like if you come to this house, just know you'll have like sanctuary. and have like literally sanctuary neighborhoods, sanctuary neighbors, and like once you're inside that neighbor's house, that the person whose house it is knows who to contact, so that the whole neighborhood can come out and run ice away. Like I mean, that's the only thing that's what like one of the things that you see in all these videos that are going around, where there's like populations of people recording and being loud, and in their face they run away. I believe the ICE agents think that they need to be like low key Delta Force with this, where they're like underground, not being seen, and like doing that. That's when like they thrive. When they have to do it out in the light, I think that's when more of the shame comes out, and they don't get to lead their like little fantasies. Like it's too much in the real world. Too many people are seeing what they're doing for them to have like that little delusional split that like you can't be the good guy when everyone's watching you be evil. And that's just like an off the cuff like psychological like analysis a little bit, but like we have to create a system like and I really think I'm onto something like with like that and I'm not saying I need to lead or run anything. I think like I was telling Gigi and Jesse the other day, we need to find like immigration lawyers who actually know what to say and what to do. We need to find local like people who are already like community leaders to implement. Like we would need to like put people around it that are in positions and like actually have the knowledge to put something in play. But I mean, we have to start getting organized on a level where we as the people during this like trial and tribulation that we're facing as a nation. The thing that has to come out of it more than anything else is that local communities, the working class, the average American organizes and comes together in some way, some shape, some form that allows us to come together and learn that like come together, get organized so that we can achieve big things. Like the energy, the structure is malleable. It drives good outcomes, and it's easy to like plug in and get involved. Until those things happen, like I mean, if we come out of this and we survive all this crap that's happening as a nation, and we come out of it with like communities that are well organized and like well funded, not well funded, but well organized and like well funded in terms of like energy and people showing up, then like we have an opportunity post the second Trump run to come out of it stronger than we went in it. Like I think that's like one of the biggest things that are lacking in America is like grassroots organization. And not just organizing to door knock, but organizing to like make local communities better. Like organize to like run like little leagues, organize to like, make sure like communities are safe. I mean, that's what all you militia fucks were talking about before you joined ICE. But now that you joined ICE, you just want to be on the side of guns. I think that's like the weakest thing, is when like a man who wants to be like a big masculine man and wants to have guns and like is all about it and is like, looks up to like Delta Force and like wants to hold American values, and they just turn around and they say, I have to be on the side of guns. I mean, that'd be George Washington saying, I want to be on the side of the biggest navy in the world. I want to be on the side of the most well-organized military on the planet currently. Like, it's crazy to me that the people have been using that as a rallying cry for like generation now, and all those people who were claiming they wanted to defend like American values and like American cities versus the government joined the government to become antagonistic to normal like citizens, like to the people of this nation. And it's just like a wild time. And like the reason I think it's those people that are saying this because where are those people at currently? It's sad. It's just a really sad state of affairs. So there's a couple different things we can watch. Again, I think we're only going to be out here till about 10 o'clock Eastern time. Song talking about ice might be fine. I mean, I just want to see, because I've been like doing homework all day and like working on like making some Docker containers and stuff for the database. So I haven't been able to follow too closely on what's happened today. So we might just jump into that because I do want to know where these ice raids are currently standing. I want to know like what's like new on that front. So let's go ahead and check this out.
Democrats were behind many of the anti-immigrant movements in the 1900s, as early as back as the Reconstruction. Yes, yeah, this is also true. Even in the not even the 1900s, in the early 1990s, up until the early 1990s, Republicans were pro. I mean, Ronald Reagan did mass amnesty, guys. Republicans were way more open to migration into the United States of America. Anyway, we are going to talk about, first story of the day, we're diving into Secretary Kristi Noem saying more federal agents are heading to Minneapolis, which is, again, very strange, right? Because, remember, the Department of Homeland Security is supposed to be tasked with dealing with migrants, right? Undocumented migrants. Or at least that's on paper what they're supposed to be doing, okay? Having said that, however, it's very strange to me that they're utilizing the Department of Homeland Security in what seems to me is objectively not an immigration operation at all. It kind of feels like they're utilizing the Department of Homeland Security as an unaccountable army that can be sent.
And there's like no fucking training. It's not even like a good army. Like, I don't understand why we're letting untrained people run around with guns thinking that they have authority. Like, the odds of this being the outcome are dumb high. Like, of course this is going to happen. Like, that's the scary part, is that there's enough like smart like people who can like actually like think something through that knew that this was going to happen. It makes you think that this is what they want to happen, and I think this is what they want to happen. Because I don't think this is necessarily a Trump thing. This is probably a Stephen fucking Miller thing. This is a Peter Thiel thing. This is a fucking creepy Project 2025 thing. That, like, you know, you see people already on the internet are making content saying, let me see your algorithm to see if you're a real American. Bro, like, that's such a real thing. Like, Twitter's owned by Elon Musk. Let me see your Twitter algorithm. Google already made it. Gulf of America, maybe they'll let Trump and the administration see your YouTube algorithm to see what you're thinking about. I'd be fucked. Hell, I'd be fucked for a couple different reasons. This like line of thought, this train keeps moving forward. That's why we gotta stop it now. We need to find real world solutions that we can actually put into action to like change the outcome. We need to put like our collective like hand on the scale to try to change what we're watching right now. We can't just let this go by and keep viewing it and keep like watching it happen day after day and do nothing. We have to put plans together. We have to mobilize, and we have to like just show the world and like stand up against like injustice. Like, and like it has to, like, at some point we have to get some sort of revolt. Nothing has to be violent, but a spending revolt. We're not paying our taxes. We're not going to work. Like, we're not. I mean, find something. Like, it has to be something. Like, we're all gonna like just not pay at the grocery store. Like, whatever the fuck it may be. Like, we have to find our thing that, like, as a market, as a consumer base, as the engine of capitalism, we are the engine. Our energy is like the fuel that runs this entire thing. So we are the fuel. We are the engine. We are the exhaust system of capitalism. Like, that's what the people make. We have to find a way to turn our power off. We have to find a way to like organize and use our voices and like use our actions and use our energy to dismantle what the fuck we're watching in any way, shape, or form. We have an untrained police force going from city to city thinking that they are the most important thing in the fucking world. They're not defending anybody. They're not doing anything for us. It's a crazy situation.
To the domestic front at the behest of the administration. And that's precisely what it is. That's why we say it is the Gestapo. Okay? And I want to clear some stuff up for people that are maybe unfamiliar. I did tweet about this. I tweeted quite a bit this past weekend. But for those of you who don't know, the Department of Homeland Security was actually created in 2003. Okay? The Department of Homeland Security has not been around since like the inception of the nation state or whatever, right? We've had Border Patrol and we've had Customs, okay, as separate entities, and we've had the INS, okay? Now, in 2003, in the aftermath of 9/11 and the global war on terror, right, post-2001, we created a major surveillance apparatus and created a new federal agency specifically to utilize a new
This is all coming from the Patriot Act of
group
9/11.
of people trained to do, like mass surveillance and mass apprehension under the guise of like at least one element that was federally controlled, immigration, right? Controlled by the White House, immigration, so that the Bush administration at the time could take on whatever they wanted to and engage in mass surveillance of like Muslim communities, send them to Guantanamo Bay, things like that, right? ICE has no reason to exist. Something like the Customs and Border Patrol makes sense, but there's no reason to have an internal migrant hunting army. Law enforcement can deal with crime. Customs and Border Patrol can deal with the border. Exactly. And that's what it was. That's how it used to be. That's how it used to be until 2003. Okay? So when people say, oh, dude, what do you mean? Can we not have any borders? You can't have a nation without borders. It's like,
Yeah, you can.
like that's not the function of the Department of Homeland Security. You've just believed this lie. As I said, I love when people act like ICE has always been around, like we didn't have any border control before Department of Homeland Security was created in 2003. We had the INS, Customs Service, and Border Patrol before it all merged into an insane surveillance behemoth that is now Trump's personal Gestapo. Idiots. Okay? Because that's what it was. It wasn't like open presence, thank you for the 100 gifted subs. It wasn't. The Department of Homeland Security's function was not to actually, protect American borders or anything. That was the reasoning and the justification that they used to develop this like mass surveillance and unaccountable military force that they can use in the domestic home front. That is the real reason why they did that. This is the Patriot Act. This is the aftermath of the Patriot Act, okay? So when people say, like, abolish ICE or abolish the Department of Homeland Security, this is what they're referencing. So I hope people understand. What is this? Well, since my post clearly inspired you, yeah, I love these bot accounts. Yes, I learned about this from you, Gator Gar, Yalligator Gar. Yes, this person is saying that the INS has been conducting deportation operations inside our borders for almost 100 years. Okay. The stupidity of this, of course, is that the INS was tasked with dealing with a civil offense because that's what border crossing is. Okay. That's what it is. It's not this whole like this is actually a felony and perhaps the most violent felony of all time is a new phenomena.
And, like, we can check it out, but the UN has said we'll look it up because there's a guy who was on Fox News getting interviewed by Fox News, and he said the UN, and this is a quick AI overview, so, grains of salt, we can learn that we're wrong or right a different day. But yes, the UN recognizes freedom of movement and the right to travel as fundamental human rights, enshrined in Article 13 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which states everyone has the right to move within their country and to leave and return to any country, including their own. Those states can impose restrictions, especially at borders, in line with human rights laws and necessary for public order or health, which we are not at currently. The reason billionaires are the only minority that are really screwing us today. It is not people who are coming over here for a better life. It is not people who are coming in here to put their energy into an honest way of living. People who are giving their energy and are earnest and honestly trying to have a good living and provide for their family and to do right by morals in society are not the problem. I promise you, the few people who are actually using their energy with intentions and honesty and are just trying to do something moral and lead an honest life are not the problem in our country. If at any point, if that's what is in the group of people that they're trying to scapegoat, just know they're full of fucking shit. Billionaires do way more harm to the average person than any immigrant or any minority group anywhere. Period.
I'm sorry, but every single person that is engaged...
These are probably the same thing.
Notion that immigration is anything beyond a civil misdemeanor is, one, not even in the rule books, for the record, even though we have changed the rules a little bit to make it more a more severe crime. For example, if you're, caught crossing the border illegally or overstaying your visa and you're deported, right? in a relatively peaceful process. For the record, this isn't like, this isn't supposed like this new version of like door knocking operations or dragnets. Like that's not how it's supposed to go. But normally it's a process that you can deal with paperwork, right? Because that's all this is, and it's been treated like that for a very long time. The notion that this is actually a severe felony, or all of these people are actually criminals and they're coming here to do rapes and drug trafficking, a new attitude, or at least that's the old attitude that the Klan held, right? But it's a new attitude that has become, it's new in the sense that it's become normalized and mass adopted.
It's mainstream. It's evolved.
Okay? That's the problem here. And that's the reason why I've also criticized the Democrats quite extensively for not doing enough to push back and counter message against this ridiculous lies. These ridiculous lies that undocumented migrants actually present an ever-present danger to the United States of America, or they're stealing the welfare, but they're also stealing the jobs. All of it is inconsistent, and none of it is true, right? And yet, here we are.
This morning, furious protesters bracing for hundreds more federal agents to descend on Minnesota as outrage grows nationwide over the deadly ice in Minneapolis. Thousands taking to the streets in New York, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles. Protesters were demanding an independent investigation after disturbing cell phone videos showing ICE agent Jonathan Ross fatally 37-year-old mother Renee Good last week. Over the weekend, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem doubling down on her position.
Democrats were behind many of the anti-immigrant movements in the 1900s, as early as back as the Reconstruction. Yes, yeah, this is also true. Even in the not even the 1900s, in the early 1990s, up until the early 1990s, Republicans were pro. I mean, Ronald Reagan did mass amnesty, guys. Republicans were way more open to migration into the United States of America, and it was actually the Democrats that did not want to do this, but only on the boundaries of protection of labor, okay? And the argument there is the argument that I always tell you, which is that if there is a two-tier migration system into this country, and you have undocumented migrants, okay, and you have documented migrants, and you have the domestic labor force that already exists, this two-tier structure actually does depress wages. It's true. But the solution...
It's because, he's going to say it, but it's because one group can't organize and, like, will always undercut the other. It's the same thing that goes into... the same reason, like, when they outsourced and they took all the manufacturing jobs from places like Cleveland, Ohio, and took them over to Mexico City. I don't know if it's actually Mexico City. That's just the only city I can name in Mexico. It's the same type of, like, the same reason it was hurting here is because the same way it hurts there is, like, they're just paying these people less. These people will take, like, less money for the job. A, B, and then, like, if you're paying them under the table, you don't have to pay taxes. So, you don't have to pay health insurance, and you don't owe them any forms of retirement. So you're getting the same type of labor, if not better labor, like a harder worker, someone who's, like, putting more energy, like, per hour into the job. But you're also having to pay them less because you don't have to owe them any benefits. They don't know, like, how to fight for their rights and pay, and, like, they have no legal, like, if it's under the table, they have no legal route to get what they're owed.
So that is not to engage in. It was Strong Thurmond. I can't tell if you Strong Thurmond that flipped the script of political axioms. Strong Thurmond is crazy, brother. That's a white supremacist, okay? Another white supremacist who also had a secret black child. Straight up KKK Klansman. American.
Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986. This is just Wikipedia. Was passed by the 99th United States Congress and signed into law by Ronald Reagan on the 6th of November, 1986. What it did was it made most undocumented immigrants who had arrived in the country prior to January 1st, 1982. The Immigration Reform and Control Act legalized most undocumented immigrants who had arrived in the country prior to January 1st of 1982. The act altered U.S. immigration law by making it illegal to knowingly hire illegal immigrants. Again, attacking the people who are benefiting from the work because you're going for those who hire them, not who are working, but who are hiring illegal immigrants, and establishing financial and other penalties for companies that employ illegal immigrants. Now nearly 3 million people applied for legalization under the IRCA through the update in the registry date along with the law and SAW programs enacted by the IRCA. Presently, 2.7 million people were ultimately approved by permanent residents. That's crazy. That was Ronald Reagan. This is one of Trump's goats.
American politics is a tapestry of some of the craziest, inconsistent freaks. Anyway, many such cases, classic white men behavior. That's why it's like silly whenever someone goes, well, how can this person be, they like have a Filipino girlfriend or something, and it's like, well, because it's very common. All right.
That it was justified, accusing the deceased woman of domestic and claiming she tried to run over the agent with her vehicle, but the video shows her turning away. Minnesota officials say,
Dude, this makes me mad every time I see it. Look, he's right here, brother. He shot and killed this woman in cold blood. Well, people stood around and watched. And then they high-fived each other. That's the other fucking thing. The personality and the training and the morals of these people running around, they look at this and they think it's a good fucking thing. Like, ooh, we finally got one. The same way, like, that Caleb guy who does the financial audit, he always claps back on, like, leftists. This is, like, the extreme version of what the fuck he be talking about.
blocks them from accessing any evidence for a state-level investigation.
If we're going to trust the federal government, how can we trust the federal government to do an objective, unbiased investigation without prejudice when at the beginning of that investigation they have already announced exactly what they saw, what they think happened?
ICE and Border Patrol agents stepping up operations in Minneapolis.
Eyes
Videos
are
showing
itchy.
agents deploying pepper spray, smashing through the front door of this home and leading a man out in handcuffs.
Bro, did they go into a residence without a warrant? Bro, they start doing that, we're fucked. That shit's literally written in the Constitution.
And George, the federal response to this deadly act has been met with a lot of criticism, especially among congressional Democrats who are now threatening to hold up DHS funding if there isn't a transparent investigation. George.
Faith Booby, thanks.
Now to Minnesota, where there are new confrontations between protesters and immigration agents. This one happened at a gas station in St. Paul after ICE demanded proof of citizenship from a man pumping gas. Over the weekend, demonstrators took to the streets in multiple cities to put an ICE agent and Minneapolis resident Renee Nicole Good. The government is sending more federal officers to the Twin Cities. Nicole Skanga has our story.
Immigration raids escalated across the Twin Cities Sunday, including at a St. Paul gas station where federal agents...
Bro, look at this, bro. The fuck are we doing? These aren't even real police officers. These aren't people who went to the academy. This isn't people who've been studying for months. This isn't people who like heard the call to serve and protect. This is people who wanted $45,000 to go act like this is like Call of Duty, to play against noobs, to get like the super rare armor and combat fucking skin and run around fucking society and tear out civilians like it's GTA real time. The fuck are we talking about? Look at this. Let's look at that at a gas station. Bro, half the time when we see videos like this and there's any sort of follow-up, these people are American citizens, bro. We're going to get to a point where we see like they're on segregation bases. Like that's where this shit's heading. This is not going to get better. The only minority that is causing harm in this country are the fucking billionaires and almost trillionaires.
Dragged a man from his car, then tackled a bystander who was filming. We were there as federal agents deployed pepper balls and tear gas against protesters outside an ICE facility.
Stay out of the road.
Led by Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bavino.
What do you say to Americans, including police chiefs, that say if there is no de-escalation in sight, it's not a matter of if, but...
I hate this fucking guy so much. I mean,
I don't know who he is.
Transparent fucking bovine fascist, okay? And he LARP says it too. He loves that shit.
Farm game of 2024.
So One of the things that I'm also noticing that I think is good, you know how we talked about Scott Wiener and the sea change that's taking place? A lot of liberals who also leaned into the Republican insanity over immigration are now turning around and saying, like, fuck ICE, you know, melt ICE, all this stuff. They're getting more radical by the day, and that's a good thing. But that was another aspect of my back and forth commentary, which is something that I've seen liberals engage in, at least like liberals that are hyper online, who want to talk like they've been here from the start. And I have no problem with that. Once again, if you have realized, if you finally had a wake-up call and you recognize right from wrong, and now you're actually willing to go out and protest, I'm totally on board. I love that. But don't try to punish people who have been there from the start. Don't try to fucking rewrite history. Don't try to act as though we were the dangerous radicals. And
yeah, once you realize you've been brainwashed, you gotta realize you were duped, and you gotta take your fucking L. Because what you realize is that the morals are fucked. You got so caught up. I think this is what's going on. Is people are getting so caught up in like politics, red, blue politics. I think there's more people that like think that like what's going on is insane and terrible, but they can't hold on to the fact that if they admit that the Democrats, fuck, I'm not a Democrat. I'm just a moral motherfucker. All right, I hate the Democrat Party. I'll tell you 22 different ways that they are letting our country down and failing us, right? I'm not a vote blue guy. Like, I mean, listen, did I vote for Trump? Fuck no. I did not. Did I think Kamala Harris was good? No. Have I told my parents who are vote blue, old school Democrats, every single, it feels like every step of the way, I have brought up and countered points and told them why what they're doing is wrong. Running Joe Biden in 2016 was wrong, or 2020 was wrong. We should have been running Bernie. Biden deciding to run for re-election was wrong, and it wasn't the promise that he told us in the beginning to get us on this side. There's so many different things that we could point to. The fact that Kamala Harris didn't want to, that told people that were talking about Gaza to shut the fuck up, and that they weren't listening to the youth. And then after the election, we find out if you mentioned Gaza, they threw your numbers away when they were doing polling and didn't listen to you. It's just coming out that the Democratic establishment sucks. I think there's a group of people, like a base, there's a whole, you could do a study on them, who will not admit that going blue would have been better. And listen, first part of a problem is you got to know there's a problem. You got to accept that there's a problem. You got to internalize that there is a problem that we need to find a solution to. So, like I said earlier, maybe Trump is making us see that we have a problem of corruption, because it's not just about Trump, it's about everything that led up to him too, right? It's not just it's not one guy's fault. His administration is terrible. When I talk about Trump, I'm talking about Stephen Miller, I'm talking about J.D. Vance, I'm talking about Pete Hegseth, I'm talking about the whole shebang. But I think there's so many people that just cannot flip sides. They just think it's like a Browns fan rooting for the Steelers in the playoffs. It's impossible. It hurts. I can't do it. That means I'm admitting I'm wrong. I'm joining the wrong side. That's such a piss poor way of looking at what the fuck is going on right now. It shouldn't be about red or blue. It should be about right and wrong, bro. There is a line in the sand. People defending pedophiles, who think genocide in Gaza is fine, and what we're doing with ICE. Maybe you can even throw the Venezuela thing. Those four things, bro. Those are moral. That should not be political. Should be political. The founding fathers were talking about morals. Yeah, things got to politics and different ways of doing currency and shit like that, and how the taxes get taken and how's representation done. But it has to be done through a moral fucking framework. It doesn't work if you drop the morals, if you drop the integrity, if you get rid of character. All those things are diminished, and the American people, the grassroots, have to supply it. We have to vote for it, and we have to supply it. And if anything doesn't come ethically with character, we got to deny it. And when injustice is in front of us, we got to display it. We have to have conviction in our character. We have to be willing to spend nights in jail if it means we stood up against injustice. That's the stories of MLK and the civil rights movement. When do we get to that level? Has it been conditioned out of us? Has cable news and McDonald's and Coca-Cola and all the medicine we're on, has it programmed us to be servile? Maybe it has, because there's a lot of servile MFs out here.
That we actually played a role in what's taking place here, when in fact the administration, the Democratic Party, played a role in normalizing this kind of violence by refusing to counter message against it. And there was someone who was correctly saying that this would inevitably lead to exactly what's going on, and that person was people like myself. It is not lost on me that there are a lot of people who are a lot of liberals who are trying to act as though they were here all along. You know what I mean? Will Stansel is personally tracking ice agents around Minneapolis in his Honda Fit. That boy is just built different. I'm just saying, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm perfectly happy with that. This is not about like I was right and you were wrong or anything. It doesn't matter to me that much. What does matter to me, however, is that if you don't identify why you were wrong initially,
facts,
quietly, if you don't identify what led you to believe that the Democrats were operating with the best possible agenda in the election cycle, that actually did not offer any counter message to this like unlimited racist bullshit towards migrants, and how that normalized in the eyes of a lot of Americans this kind of violence that was inevitably going to take place, you will fall for it again.
Facts.
For supporting.
That's why people fold back in, bro. When this shit first happens, we all see this very clearly, and we all see what's going on like through the very similar lens because we're all humans. But then also we go to our echo chamber and we fall back in fucking line. Because we don't want to admit that we can get manipulated. Bro, anybody can get manipulated. Like, we're all human. We all have, like, chemistry. We can all be, like, lured. Like, the more time and detail and variables you can have over a person, influence over a person, the higher the probability is that you can manipulate them. Right? We can all be manipulated. But, again, the first thing we have to do to fix anything is to admit and understand and internalize that there is a fucking problem. And some of those parts of the problem are not in your control. Other parts are. Some of it is boundaries. We have to leave echo chambers. Leave friend groups. Stop listening to the same creators. Whatever it may be. But, bro, you got to realize that there's right or wrong happening right in front of us real time. This is a real moment for us to have to... Bro, we still got 3 years if he doesn't, like, go for a third term. Let alone if, like, they hand power off properly to JV or another fucking puppet, bro. Like, we have to find ways to fight this, and, like, we have to find ways to organize on the community, individual level. How do I take care of myself? How do I help the people around me take care of the area around me? And then that can grow. We can build systems to, like, fight. Literally, like, fight. We have to find, again, ways to revolt. I'm not saying that I do not want violence. I do not condone violence. I'm a pass-the-fist type person. I think violence should always be the last option and only used sparingly. However, we have to revolt, like, economically. We have to revolt digitally. Like, where our attention, where our influence, where our money, where our resources are going, we have to find a way to revolt. And the only way to do that is for us all to get on the same page. And the only way to get on the same page is to be organized, to be heard, to have town halls. I started listening to Malcolm X's Audible book, his autobiography. Because, I admittedly can study Malcolm X a little bit more. Definitely haven't listened to him. Like, for a guy who loves history, I probably don't know as much about Malcolm X as I should. But two, because I'm trying to learn a lesson from history. How do you get organized? How do you put a big plan together nationwide that can, like, change an outcome on a national level? Like, we have to figure out our version of doing that as a generation, as a people, as a society.
The current war, but not the previous ones. Supporting all the previous civil rights movements, but not the current one. Okay? You can't do that. So I don't want people to, I don't know. I just don't, like, I see stuff like this. I don't know who this guy is. I've only seen some of his stuff before, like shitting on me over Israel and whatnot. And I've been finding myself liking people like this and their takes a lot more. Right? Because there is this, like, real unification taking place, at least against the Republicans, right? And I said, am I crazy or are you normal now? He said, Hassan, you're normal as being a tanky boot slurp. I have been a liberal this entire time. And I said, okay, I'll give it a few more months before you hate the right as much as I do. Check back soon. And this guy was retweeted by Destiny when he responded to you. Yeah, I don't really care about all that stuff, obviously, because I don't think these guys have ever had like a real constituency in the real world. But what I find really strange is, you know,